Well. Clemson Tiger fans, college football fans, welcome back to another episode of the All In Show here on the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. I am your host, Tiger Paul Craven, and joining me shortly will be my co-host, Jordan Bowman. But before we bring him on, if you are not subscribed to the channel, we are on our way to 5,000 subscribers. Please help us out with that. We have a good time on this channel. We respond to all the live chats. We are here every single Thursday night at 7 p.m. to bring you a live show. So without further ado, if you would like to support the channel in any other way, links are in the description of this video. You can also use the super chat feature at any point in time in this video. But without further ado, I will bring on my co-host, fan favorite, Jordan Bowman. Jordan, how you doing tonight, brother?
I'm doing all right. Took me a while to get back into the swing of things this week. After the Super Bowl, which unfortunately I spent kind of sort of sick. I think I had a cold or something. And then, waking up Monday after staying up late, it's always a grind to try and get through that. I really feel like Monday should be like the Mondays after the Super Bowl should be like a national holiday. I feel like everybody should get that day off.
Hear me out, Jordan. Hear me out. Let's think about this for a second. Who signed off on the 5-day work week followed by 2 days of the weekend?
That's a good question. We'd probably have to go very far back in time.
Can we get a little bit more even here? Do like a 4 and 3, I mean, I'm just saying we might be a little more productive if we get 3 days off every weekend instead of 2 days off.
I agree.
Just throwing it out there. Hey, maybe I'm wrong. Just throwing it out there. It would be nice for a 3-day weekend to be the norm. But
yeah, should be.
It is what it is. As always, you're here. I'm here. We're here for the fans of the Voice of College Football Clemson channel. We're here to talk college football. We're here to talk Clemson football. And before we get started today, we're going to give a shout out to the chat. As always, we got John Sarian in here. We got Big Mick. We got Show Out Gaming in here. Pat's in here. Who else?
Good to see Patrick Bateman in here.
Yeah. Good
Love you in that movie.
We got John in here. We got Michigan football at the Voice of College Football in here. Can you believe that? We got Michigan football at the
We got
Voice
another
of
one of the
College
team
football.
channels in here. I think I have an idea on who that is behind the channel, but
that's a good thing. Hey, he said we're all in. Let's go. There we go.
Hey, rocking with my Michigan brethren. We also got Ben in here. Ben and John already in here. So cool. Got a little Michigan.
We got
in here.
Yeah, we got a little Michigan standing in here. We got Todd Gwynn. We got Pat Bateman. We got. I mean, we're loaded with. The comment section is already popping off, Jordan. As per usual for our show, which is absolutely amazing. I mean, every time we do this show, Jordan, I'm amazed by the amount of people that show out for our show. It's truly crazy because, I mean, I know just like me, you are just a college football fan. You're a Clemson Tiger fan. You're somebody that grew up, loving Clemson football like I do. And it's crazy that people are on here and they want to know what we want to talk about with Clemson football. But that's pretty amazing, dude. We will get into the show tonight. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, guys. I know it's the off season. I know you think that there's not a lot of football to talk about, but there's always football to talk about in the off season, and that's the beauty of college football, right? So first and foremost, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Not only about Clemson football, we're going to talk about college football in general tonight. But we will start with Clemson football, and we'll start with Will Shipley. Okay. I want to start with Will Shipley tonight because Will Shipley is like my spirit animal, if you will. And that sounds pretty crazy, but like Will Shipley is like a dude, right? Not only at the running back position, he runs with, absolute, the guy just he's a football player at the end of the day, right? But what I will say is there's an article on TigerNet. There's an article on a couple other places that cover Clemson football, and they're talking a lot about Will Shipley and his comments on changing the narrative around NIL deals. He's talking about changing the narrative around, what NIL deals mean to him and what NIL deals will mean in the future to a lot of college football players. Did you get a chance to read the article that I'm referring to, Jordan?
I, in fact, did. I
Okay.
did. Really interesting stuff. And we all know how good, especially Clemson fans. I mean, we've been familiar with Will Shipley ever since, throughout his recruitment. I, for one, have been familiar with Will Shipley actually a pretty long time. He's from my hometown. Actually, I'm really good friends with one of his trainers, and so
I did not know that, by the way.
Yeah. The more you know. So I've followed his career a long time, and I know what kind of kid he is. And just watching this interview, reading this article,
Right.
really was just it was kind of wasn't really eye opening for me because I know the kind of kid he is. He's a really down to earth, and just a very very personable guy, and is always interested in. I think we're getting an echo. I don't know where that's from, but always interested in helping others, and so it didn't surprise me to read this article. I thought he had a lot of really good things to say. Kind of put NIL in a really positive, and change bringing light. So it was really good stuff. Just talking about his, using his platform in order to make positive change, not just in the community, but all throughout. And so I thought it was it was really nice to read that and kind of see his perspective on it. But yeah, again, it doesn't really surprise me. I've known about him a very long time. So I was ecstatic when Clemson ended up getting him because not only is he a great football player, but he's also a great person. So, and this article just does a lot to prove that.
Yeah, Will Shipley is one of the greats. I think he will go down as one of the greats in Clemson football history. It's in the landscape of college football that we currently live in. A lot of college football fans are looking at the landscape, and we are like, I don't recognize college football right now, right? Like that's a lot of what the college football purists are talking about. It's a lot of what college football is kind of going to. We're like, we really don't recognize this. We realize this is, kind of the future of college football, but we don't really know where it's going. So, in my opinion, it is refreshing to hear a college football player speak to the NIL evolving into something that he's kind of coming out and he's saying, hey, not all college football athletes are selfish. Not all college football athletes are saying, we just want to be paid because of reasons, right? What Will Shipley is saying is he's saying, I want to affect the community. I want to give back. I want to be a part of something bigger than myself, right? So, he kind of came out and, I really think it's important to highlight, a student athlete like Will Shipley saying that he wants to shift the narrative when it comes to NIL, right? I know that he, recently he's gave $10,000 to the Levine Children's Hospital in Charlotte, right? Like, so he's partnered, and he's leveraged his NIL, his name, image, and likeness. He's leveraged his ability at Clemson to do things like that. He also, if you remember back to last year, him and KJ Henry started a Clemson, kind of like their own thing, basically, where they donated like tens of thousands of dollars, I think, to several different charities. So I think Clemson has built a culture, not only that, it's a selfless culture, but it's also a culture that they are literally trying to use their name, image, and likeness in order to better the community that they live in, right? So it started with KJ Henry last year. It started with Will Shipley last year. And I think that will continue in the Clemson program. What do you think about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think it does a good job of, the goal is to shift the narrative, right? Because it seems like,
Right, yeah.
In the news, or especially in the college football media, the discussion around NIL has always been in kind of in a negative light. The
Right.
stories that have come out.
It's kind of a negative light, and it's kind of a pay for play type of deal, right?
Yeah.
So it's refreshing to see these student athletes that are like, that's not what we're all about. We're not only about getting paid for what we do, right?
Right, and especially in the context. I mean, some of the stuff that's come out. The Jaden Rashada situation has kind of been a black eye
Yes,
on the entire discussion
absolutely.
around NIL, and so there's a lot of people that are just, that are really down on it. I do still think there are issues with how NIL is leveraged right now within college football, but it is not really. I don't think it's as negative as people try to portray it. Like I said, there are things that need to be fixed, but I think stories like these are really really eye opening, and not every player is out here just using NIL to leverage their own personal gain. And there's a lot of change and a lot of really positive things happening because of NIL. I mean, KJ Henry was able to pay for his father's. I believe it was his kidney, a
kidney transplant.
operation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. A
So,
kidney transplant. Yeah.
just stories like that are,
Right.
I mean, they're really
And
impactful,
then
really
him
powerful.
and what people don't realize is like KJ Henry and Will Shipley leveraged that into a Clemson endowment, right? That reportedly gave 5 figures to a lot of different charities, right? Like not just one charity, but a lot of different charities, right? So it's not like they're not focusing their money in one particular place. They are leveraging their name, image, and likeness. They are producing that into some sort of Clemson collective, right? And then they're pushing that out to the community in Clemson, South Carolina. And that's super important. Like, I want people to realize, like, how much that, like, I think that we have a skewed view on NIL. And I think people like Will Shipley and people like KJ Henry are much more prevalent than we like to realize or like to, that we like to think, right? Like those guys, I think, are much more prevalent than previously thought of, right? Like these type of guys, they're looking to help the community. They are looking to leverage their NILs into supporting the community and supporting children and all these other things that could leverage good things that come in the community. So um, it's not all greedy student athletes that just come and like pay me for my services. That's all I'm saying.
Right. And so yeah, it was really a cool article to read. Um, just nice and kind of refreshing. It was kind of a refreshing escape from all the negative of news surrounding NIL and all that. So really nice story. Happy for Will Shipley. It was a really good read. So if you guys haven't read that article, make sure you guys go check that out. Really good
Yeah,
stuff.
go read the Will Shipley article. He talks about being a person that should focus on being a representative and a role model for kids, and just being a focus on trying to help people. So
Absolutely.
I think that's super important. Uh, I think what else we'll talk about. Let's talk a little bit about the ACC in general. Let's talk about how the ACC schedule is broken up. Let's talk about some coordinator movements within the ACC. What is your, because we've had a lot of, so let's be honest. Throughout this offseason, we've had a lot of quarterback movements within the ACC, right? So last season, coming into the ACC season, one of the big things that the ACC touted was, hey, we got a lot of quarterbacks. We are a quarterback league, yada, 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 right? But at the end of the day, a lot of those quarterbacks are transferring out, and a lot of coordinators are being fired. They're being replaced, so on and so forth, right? So, what are your takes on some of the OC and DC moves in the ACC, and then also some of the moves when it comes to quarterbacks in the ACC?
Well, I guess there've been several coordinator moves that have happened in recent, not all in the ACC, but I
Yeah.
guess to start
So,
with,
yeah,
two of the teams are on Clemson's schedule. Not one of them is not necessarily in the ACC, but I guess I'll start with the one that is in the ACC, and that's Miami.
there we
They,
go. Miami,
obviously,
yeah.
it seems like Miami has been hemorrhaging coaches like crazy the last week or two, a couple of weeks, but they finally made hires on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, and it seems like that Mario's going kind of a different approach than he did his first season as far as hiring his staff. The first year it was, we're going to assemble a group of really experienced, really well thought of coaches. We're going to build a quote unquote all-star staff, and that's kind of how they didn't really brand themselves that way, but Miami fans and Miami media branded them that way. Having guys like Kevin Steele and Josh Gaddis, the former Broyles Award winner, and Charlie Strong on the staff. Just a group of guys that have all had success elsewhere, are well respected within the industry at their positions, and we saw how that turned out. 5-7, missed a bowl game, really embarrassing losses. Just not a lot of continuity. Really bad on offense. Really porous on defense as well. A lot of times. So I think Mario is going. He decided with these two coordinator hires, he was going a different direction. And so I guess I'll start with defensive coordinator Lance Guidry, formerly of well, formerly of Marshall, but he was at he had just gotten hired by Tulane when Mario gave him the call, and he decided to take the job.
Right.
Shane is a guy that has been in the industry a really long time. This is a really kind of out of the box hire, I think, for Mario. He's never had a coordinator job at the Power 5 level, but everywhere he's been at the G5 level, he's had really strong defenses, and most importantly, he made a impact in his first year. Every team he was at improved defensively in all defensive statistics by a pretty significant margin. So, I'm interested to see how that translates to the Power 5 level. I don't think Miami is lacking in talent on that side of the ball, and they're going to have some young guys coming in with this recruiting class they brought in that could be impact players as well. So I think this is I think I saw a lot of Miami fans that were not happy with the hire. I think it was a pretty sensible one. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think it's a guy that, while he's not proven at the Power 5 level, I think he's a guy that has shown he can. He's a good defensive mind, and working with less talent than he will be at Miami. So that'll be interesting. Obviously Miami is on the schedule. Clemson goes to Coral Gables this time around. They came to Death Valley this past season. So that one's an interesting one. And then on the offensive side of the ball, which is their most recent hire. Shane Dawson. What's his name? Shannon Dawson.
Shannon Dawson. He comes from Houston. He was 13th in touchdowns, 19th in completion percentage, and then 36 or more points per game. So he did have some success, but albeit at Houston.
Yeah. And the biggest thing, and this one's another interesting one, air raid guy. Obviously at Houston, he was working under Dana Holgorsen. And, obviously Dana Holgorsen is, from that air raid tree, that Mike Leach, Hal Mummy air raid tree. So obviously he has a lot of experience with that system. And he's had some offensive coordinator stints at other places. Some that went well, some that didn't. I know he was fired at Kentucky after one season because their offense was so bad. But this is a hire that's I don't really know what to make of yet. I think on paper it makes sense because while he is an air raid guy, I think I don't think he's a guy that's going to pass the ball a ton just because he's an air raid guy. I mean, I think he believes in running the football. And that's kind of, I'm interested to see how those styles mesh because Mario is a guy that wants to, pound the rock, be strong on the offensive line, and really be able to emphasize running the football. And now you're bringing in an air raid guy. So I'm interested to see how those styles kind of mix and what they, how they kind of meet in the middle there.
Right.
So really two interesting hires for Miami as far as their coordinators are concerned. They've lost some other assistants. Their running back coach, I'm forgetting his name right now. Also lost Frank Ponce, their quarterbacks coach.
Yes.
Charlie Strong, former linebacker coach.
That was my question. Do you think Charlie Strong left them because he thought he would be the defensive coordinator and he did not get the position, so he thought, I'll just move on? Or
I think there's a really good chance. I mean, it was kind of
okay.
It kind of reminded me, and I think you could say the same about Frank Ponce. Because it was clear that when they initially fired Josh Gaddis and decided they were going to go a different direction with their offensive coordinator hire, and they didn't promote him, and they were going to bring in a guy with because Josh Gaddis, he coached wide receivers, and they were, so I guess they're pivoting to hiring a guy that has coached quarterbacks. And when Frank Ponce wasn't the guy, it was all right. Well, it's clear there's not a place for me on this staff anymore because they're going to want to bring in a guy with a quarterback's background, and they're not going to promote me. So he went elsewhere. So I think it's kind of the same thing with Charlie Strong. And Charlie, he's been a head coach at multiple stops. Obviously, he was successful at Louisville, not so much at at Texas. That's well documented. But he's always been a really well-respected defensive coordinator, linebackers coach.
Right.
And when he wasn't
So
promoted, it was, I'm not going to – he was kind of like, I'm not going to, stick around. So that's kind
what
of what
are Miami fans' thoughts on the two coordinator hires that Mario Cristobal has made in the past couple weeks? It's been kind of a roller coaster for Miami fans.
– oh, yeah.
There was a lot of Miami fans that wanted a change at OC. There was a lot of Miami fans that were disappointed in the season that they had. But how many Miami fans are happy with the current situation that they will head into the 2023 season with?
Yeah. The Miami fans it's just kind of hard because I'm very close with a lot of Miami fans, and
yeah,
so I kind of, and they have a huge presence on social media, so I get to see a lot of their opinions.
Always.
Yeah. So
and Miami fans out there, go ahead, put your comments in the live chat section. Put your comments in the rewatch section as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So. I've seen a lot of mixed emotions. I mean, I've seen a lot of meltdowns. I've seen, well, not a lot of meltdowns, but I've seen some meltdowns. I've seen some, just overwhelming praise for the move. I've seen mostly a lot of I'm in wait and see mode, and I think that kind of I think that kind of makes the most sense. So I mean, as we talk about Miami fans and how. They're going 12-0 every year, and every year is their year. No, I mean they have some reasonable fans, and so I saw plenty of reasonable Miami take, especially after this past season kind of didn't go the way they expected. They're kind of tempering their expectations, and so I'm like me. I'm kind of in wait and see mode, and I think a lot of that fan base is in wait and see because these are two hires that are not really conventional hires. They're not the big splash names that Mario went and got last offseason. These are guys that are well respected in the industry, but not really household names, and not guys that a lot of people are familiar with. So
yes,
I'm really interested to see how it goes, especially considering they're on Clemson schedule. And we have to play them. I thought it was really interesting that they went, like I said, they're going for an air raid guy. Clemson went and got an air raid guy. That'll be fun. That they're not necessarily they don't run necessarily the same type of air raid, but
no, not at all. And look, I think Clemson has the dominant the dominant scheme when it comes to that. But let's talk about Notre Dame for a little bit. Notre Dame loses Tommy Rees to Alabama, right? And I know a lot of Notre Dame fans will be like, oh, well, we didn't need him, blah, 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 right? What every college football fan does ever, right?
Yeah.
So they get OC Parker. They were looking at Kansas State offensive coordinator Colin Klein. They were looking at Utah coordinator Ludwig. They were looking at a couple different guys. Do you think that Notre Dame got their guy, or do you think Notre Dame settled?
Well, absolutely.
What's your opinion on what Notre Dame did at offensive coordinator?
No, they absolutely settled. That's pretty well documented now.
For sure, yeah.
It was a really roller coaster hiring process, and I got a lot of thoughts about it. Really,
and why? So not only you say Notre Dame settled. Why did Notre Dame have to settle at offensive coordinator? I think that's the really important, that's the really important stance or the position or the explanation that needs to be made.
Well, the story. I mean, as the story goes, I mean, your head coach. I mean, if you're a Notre Dame fan, you just watched your head coach go after and try to get his guy, and his administration basically spat in his face and told him no. And so it's they didn't necessarily tell him no, but they because they were going to go through with it, and then they completely botched how much money they had to pay for the buyout, and they decided they didn't want to pay it. And so it's a really, really just mind-boggling situation. And there's a lot of Notre Dame fans that are frustrated, understandably so. I would be too.
They should be, right?
I think it's I think it's a failure from Notre Dame on an administration level. And if I'm Marcus Freeman, I'm pretty livid as well. Like
for sure, yeah.
If you don't, there is a lot that went into it, because it was, when Colin Klein, he interviewed for the job. It's not clear whether he was actually offered. We don't know. But with Andy Ludwig, it was very clear, and they made it very public that Marcus Freeman, that was the guy that Marcus Freeman wanted. He was at their hockey game. I don't remember who I think maybe it was Ohio State or something. And they were shown on camera. And very publicly, Marcus Freeman even waved to the camera. He was sitting with Andy Ludwig, and it was very clear that they wanted to be seen. And it was clear that Notre Dame, that was the guy that Marcus Freeman wanted. And then, Marcus Freeman's like, all right, after they interviewed, and, there seems to be mutual interest. Marcus Freeman goes to the administration, is like, all right, this is who I want. And so when it comes down to the negotiation of the buyout, Notre Dame gets the number reported to be about 2.8 million, somewhere around that range, close to 3. And apparently that was not the number they were expecting. And instead of being like, well, this is the cost of doing business, we need to make sure we get the right guy for our young and unproven and inexperienced second-year head coach, they decided, nope, we're not going to pay it. And I don't know what they were expecting. This is the cost of doing business. This is the price you have to pay if you want to compete at the highest level, and you decided that you didn't want to do it. And so it was a really really interesting situation. Like think about this. Like imagine it's like talking to a girl. Like imagine you meet this girl, right? And she's you've just gotten out of a relationship, and this girl is like, oh, she's perfect. She's pretty, she's smart, she's funny, all of that. Y'all are vibing with each other. It's like the whole thing is cool. And you're like, all right, I want to date this girl. I want to take her out. I want to do something.
Yes. And
so, you're talking, you secure the date. It's like, I'm going to take you to the nicest restaurant in town. We're going to go see a movie. We're going to take pictures, and then we're going to do all of that. It's going to be a whole, dog and pony show.
Yep.
Or horse and pony show, whatever the saying is.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, and you're right. Yeah, go.
The time comes for the date. Y'all go out for a night on the town. Y'all are hanging out. You're taking pictures. You're posting on social media. You go see a movie. You really enjoy the movie, and then it's time for the dinner at the really nice restaurant. And this is the moment where it's like, all right, I really like this girl. We're gonna make it official. All of that, and you have a really nice dinner. It's all good. And then when it comes time to pay that bill, the waiter comes around, brings that check, and it says $200. I don't know.
Right. Yep.
It's an expensive restaurant, and you knew this.
That's it. Yep. Expensive. Yep.
You told this girl you were going to pay for everything. Then you decide, when you see that check, I don't know if I want to. I don't. This is a little too much for me. I don't think I can pay this. And it's not even that you can't pay it; it's that you don't want to. I don't think I want to pay this.
Yeah, there you go.
Like, imagine that. Can you? And then maybe you ask the girl to foot some of the bill, even though she wasn't expecting to. like imagine that. Imagine doing that.
There we go.
You think you're getting a second date after that?
No.
You think that's going to turn into a relationship?
Never, not once.
No. And so, and the worst part is optically it looks bad because, like I said, you went and took pictures. You wanted to let the world know that you were dating, that you were out on a date with this girl. And now,
there we go.
You didn't close the deal.
You know
what she's going to do?
So what happened? What happened?
She's going to go to her. She's going to go to her girlfriends. They got their little group chat.
What?
And she's going to tell them everything that you did.
What's she going to tell them?
You're a cheap ass.
Oh my God.
And so now that's your reputation.
That's everything.
That's your reputation.
That's everything.
You think any of her girlfriends gonna give you a chance either?
Nah, never, not once. Never, not once.
Nah. So now that's that's your reputation. You're the guy that can't afford to take a girl out on a nice date.
Not only is that your reputation, that's who you are. That is you.
Absolutely. Can you
come on now.
And so now preach
to him, Jordan. Preach to him.
Everybody knows that you can't get it done. You're not going to be able to close the deal.
Hey, can't close the deal.
And you're cheap.
Can't close the deal.
And so if there's any other prospective girls that you're looking at, you've got a rep. I'm not taking they're not going to take a guy seriously that then was like, well, if he doesn't value me, if he's going to tell me all these things like, oh my God, you're so pretty, you're so awesome. I really like our time together.
Yes.
I want to make this official. And then you decide, and then you're not willing to put in the time and the money that's necessary to make the relationship work.
I'm trying to tell you.
How are you going to get other people how are you going to attract other people? So that's kind of what this whole situation played out as. And I think it's a bad look for Notre Dame. It's a bad look for their administration. It's a bad look to them even within the coaching realm, within the fans. It's a really awful situation. And you threw your young head coach under the bus. And so, hey, listen, I've heard, I've done some research on, the Jared Parker, the guy that they hired, their tight ends coach.
So Jared Parker, Jared Parker fills their OC position. Tommy Rees leaves, right? What is going on at Notre Dame? What is going on at Notre Dame? Because in my mind, they got Colin Kellen, they got Ludwig, they got all these other guys that they targeted as OCs, and they didn't get them. And in my mind, Notre Dame settled for Parker. They settled for Parker. So Notre Dame fans, they seem really excited. They seem, they seem like they're okay with losing Tommy Rees. But at the end of the day, you got Parker. And the other two that you targeted, they didn't accept the position. So what do? You know what I'm saying? What do? You got a guy that was at other programs for sure, but at the end of the day, they weren't your first choice. That guy wasn't your first choice.
No. And so the way I see it, the way I see it, and listen, there are some really nice opinions about Jared Parker. I've heard good things. I think he's a really I guess he's a really good tight ends coach. I thought he did a good job with Notre Dame's tight ends. And he really only has the experience at West Virginia when he was running Neil Brown's offense. So we don't know how good Jared Parker is. He might be a really good coach.
Sure.
But
Maybe.
the thing is that you just told your young head coach, the coach that you said is going to bring Notre, you agreed when you gave him the position that we're gonna bring Notre Dame back to the top at college football. Notre Dame has been
Right. Yeah.
under Brian
Yeah.
Kelly, they were always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
For sure.
They
Yep.
got to the dance, but they couldn't. They didn't. They weren't the one that was getting married. They didn't get. They didn't win the
Yep.
championship.
Yep.
They
Yep.
made
Yep.
the playoff, but they didn't win. They didn't win. And so you just told your head coach, your young head coach, your first time head coach, that we don't actually believe in you enough to make this hire, and we don't think that we don't trust your decision making enough to go through with it, and we don't want to pay the money that it's going to take for us to reach that level of success. And so, if I'm a Notre Dame fan, I see Will in the chat. Good to see you, man. The perfect timing, because we're
Thank
kind
you,
of roasting
Will.
your
Hey,
we're
shout out
kind of
Will.
roasting your administration right now. But which I'm sure he's not mad at. I've already heard Will's take on things. He's frustrated like a lot of other Notre Dame fans. It's I would be embarrassed because this is not something that happens at the best programs. You think when Dabo said, when he, and as stubborn as Dabo is, and as much as he wants to be the guy to promote from within and all of that, when it came time when Dabo made the decision that he was going to go out and get Garrett Riley, do you think that Garrett Riley's buyout was even a thought on Graham Neff's mind?
No.
On anybody in
not.
the athletic department's mind?
No, it was not. Clemson will pay anything. Look, at the end of the day, Clemson is going to invest everything into football.
Yes.
This is why the softball team has been started. This is why the lacrosse team has been started. Look, at the end of the day, Clemson football breeds success for the rest of the sports when it comes to Clemson sports, right? So at the end of the day, Clemson football breeds success for the rest of the sports. And let's talk about it. We talked about Notre Dame. We talked about Tommy Rees leaving and them hiring a less than qualified person to take the place, right? They look, at the end of the day, I think they wanted other people, but it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
UGA.
They certainly wanted other people.
Yeah, no, they 100% wanted other people, right? UGA lost Todd Monken. Huge. I don't know if UGA fans, I know at the end of the day, UGA fans understand that there is a certain amount of, I guess, status that comes with the offensive coordinator position, right, at UGA, right? But Todd Monken leaves for the Ravens, and I don't know. Do you think that Georgia fans really realize what that means for the Georgia football program?
I mean, I think they do. Based on the reactions I saw, just from. But I think they understand what losing him means.
Let me rephrase that though. Like, I don't think Georgia fans realize the repercussions that could come from losing a guy like Todd Monken. Like, this guy literally I mean, he made the best out of a complete. I mean, what do you call it?
I guess he made the. I think he made the best out of pretty good talent on Georgia's
Pretty good
offense.
talent, right?
Not elite.
No,
You know
never elite,
they've had
especially at the quarterback position, right?
quarterback and wide receiver, for sure.
Right. So when you lose that guy, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Georgia fans, and I don't blame them because they've been to, two straight national championships. They've won two straight national championships, and I don't blame them for being arrogant about that. But at the end of the day, when you lose a guy like that, you have to take assessment of your offense, right?
Oh yeah.
And at the end of the day, Georgia needs to reassess their offense. They need to really dive into making it better, right? So Todd Monken leaves, Mike Bobo comes. I know that he's a guy that's been at Georgia before. He's a guy that's been at South Carolina before. He's a guy that has been to a lot of places. But at the end of the day, he has to make the Georgia offense work exactly like Todd Monken did. And I don't know if he's up to the challenge. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, it's a really interesting hire because one, it's an internal promotion. He was an offensive analyst, just hanging out,
Right.
as these elite programs can do. They just get former, former head coaches as offensive analysts, just like it's nothing. But Mike Bobo, he's a guy that was at Georgia before under Mark Richt. Aaron Murray put up all of those passing records under him. That his last year there wasn't that didn't go that great, and that's kind of why he got fired. And listen, Mike Bobo is a well-respected offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach within the industry. I think he's a good offensive mind, or at least an above average. But he's not Todd Monken, and I don't think he's ever been Todd Monken. I think we might have lost Tiger Paw, but I'm gonna keep going. He's not Todd Monken. He's never had an offense as efficient, as just kind of buzzsaw like that. That Todd Monken has kind of shown the past couple of years. Other than Kirby Smart, Todd Monken was the single most important person, in Georgia's championship runs these past 2 years. I get, kind of similar to how, big Brent Venables was in Clemson's success in winning their 2 national championships. And the thing is that if you look at Kirby Smart's offensive coordinator hires before Todd Monken, he's only had 2. One by the name of Jim Chaney, and the other one by the name of James Coley. And the offenses under those 2 offensive coordinators, especially under Coley, were not anywhere close to what the kind of production and efficiency that they got under Todd Monken. And so I think this is I think it's interesting because one, Kirby he clearly has the trust in Mike Bobo to run the offense. He's familiar with him. They played at Georgia together. I think they were all on I think him, Glenn Schumann, Kirby, and Will Muschamp were all on the 1994 Georgia team. So, they're really familiar with each other. So it's clear that Kirby was trying to keep a sort of he's trying to keep that relationship driven, coaching staff, guys he's familiar with, guys he's worked with. And so the interesting thing moving forward, especially since Georgia is going through a quarterback change, you're not bringing back Stetson Bennett. What is the offense going to look like? Because I think the talent is still great at Georgia. I think the talent is still great at Georgia. They're still going to have weapons. They have some really, they get Brock Bowers for another year at tight end. It feels like that's already a great step. They have tons of talent on the offensive line. They always have great running backs. The thing is I think the thing that made Todd Monken so great was his. He was just a great play caller and a great situational play caller. It seemed like he always knew how to exploit matchups in the defense. And I think that's something that Georgia didn't have before he was there that allowed them to get to that next level. Georgia had been great, a really good program. They were winning 10 and 11 games under Kirby Smart. They were making it to – they won the SEC championship in 2017. They were, one play away from winning the national championship. But they never had that dynamic elite offense. They had really good running backs, good offensive line, but they never really got the quarterback play right. The passing game was always very limited. And so what Todd Monken did was he took a junior college quarterback in Stetson Bennett and turned him into a Heisman finalist because he knew how to get the most out of the talent he had, and he knew what their strengths were, and he knew how to use those strengths to exploit weaknesses in the defense and exploit matchups. And so that's not something that's common, especially the way that Todd Monken did it. He's the guy that was really unique in that aspect. And so that's a guy that's hard to replace. And so if Georgia is going to continue their run, they're clearly, I think at this point, you got to, especially if you look at this past 2-3 year window, I think Georgia's been the best program in the sport. You win 2 national championships in a row. It's hard to argue that. And so if they want to, keep that train rolling, it's going to be really, this hire is going to be really important. If Mike Bobo isn't able to fulfill, at least close to that level of, offensive production, Georgia's not as this invincible buzzsaw that they've been the past couple of years anymore. So this is a really interesting hire. One that directly affects Clemson because obviously Georgia is not only are they a rival, you recruit the same areas against them, and there's a lot of guys in this year's class that you're directly going against Georgia for, so it's huge in that aspect. And so I'm really intrigued in this hire and how it works out moving forward, especially with Georgia making a transition at quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. It's crazy the amount of OCs and DCs and coordinators that get moved around in college football. It's absolutely amazing what happens in college football. You got Miami moving around, and they didn't choose it. Look, Mario Cristobal was not trying to change his offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator positions when it came to, making real changes this coming off season. But guess what? He was forced to, and he did. And, he's got, Lance, or he's got Kevin Steele that left. He's got Josh Gaddis that left. And look, a lot of Miami fans would be rejoicing when it comes to stuff like that, right? Notre Dame, Tommy Rees left for Alabama. How many Notre Dame fans are excited about Parker? I don't know. They kind of missed on their first 2 options, in my opinion. I think that was their first 2 options. And then UGA, they lose Todd Monken to the Ravens, right? And then they promote Mike Bobo. He has been a coordinator at Georgia before. He's been a coordinator at South Carolina. There's a lot of mixed between being coordinators before, not being coordinators before, and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, we will see what it is when it comes down to the nitty gritty of teams playing teams. We'll see what happens, right? Clemson is moving to a non-divisional type of deal when it comes to the ACC. Every other conference is moving to that as well, outside of the Big Ten. And the Big Ten will be moving to it. When will the Big Ten be moving to non-divisional playoffs or non-divisional structure?
I mean, when they formally add USC and UCLA, I would assume.
When will that be though? When will they formally add them? Is
20,
that 2 years away or?
I think 2025. I don't remember. I think it's something like that.
It's so confusing.
I think they're still negotiating. It's hard to keep track.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. Good God, dude! Like it's. I mean, can you imagine like dealing with all of this in college football? I mean, it's absolutely amazing that we get
2024. Thanks, John. Sorry.
Oh, well, there we go. 2024. Oh, yeah. Congratulations, 2024. We will have them in the. It's just. It's frustrating to me that college football has become to this. I don't know. That's just me. It's just I don't know, man. Like I just it's ridiculous.
I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of change going on in the sport. I mean, between conference realignment, between the expanded playoff, between the NIL and the transfer portal, there's a lot. I don't think there's been this much like game changing change at one time ever in the history of college football. So we really don't know how this is going to turn out because college football is going to look very different in a couple of years. So
right, and it is. What is your take on what college football will look like when it comes to realignment? Do you think
beyond what we know? I mean, beyond what we already know.
Beyond what we already know. We know that the SEC is expanded. We know the Big Ten has expanded. Right? Where do you think that leaves the ACC, the Pac-12, those kind of conferences? And what moves do you think they will make, if any?
Well, I mean, there's already been a lot of talks about the Pac-12 expanding, and there's a lot of reason to assume that the Pac-12 is going to add SMU and SMU and San Diego State. So that seems like that's a deal they're getting closer to doing. So pretty soon the ACC will be the only conference that hasn't expanded. So.
That's kind of my point, though. Like, what does that mean for the ACC, right? Like, that seems like kind of a big deal for the ACC.
Well, it is a big deal. Yeah. I mean, and because of the ACC is in such a unique situation because of their TV deal, which doesn't end for another decade.
2036, right?
Yeah.
Is that when it ends?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So, there's not a lot of unless the ACC does choose to expand, which would allow them to renegotiate their TV deal. There's not really much that's the ACC is kind of stuck, and so there's been talks about There's been talks about the ACC kind of changing how they their revenue model, kind of, instead of everybody getting the same amount of money, the teams that are actually investing the most in their programs get preference and all that. Clemson and Florida State have been kind of the spearheads of that conversation. Obviously, those are the two schools, and Miami as well as investing, but Clemson and Florida State are the only ones as of late that are actually having on-field success. So, giving the programs that care a bigger piece of the pie. I'm interested to see how that plays out. That's not something that's finalized, but there's a lot of push for it. There's something that could very well happen in the near future. But I don't know if it really changes the calculus here, because pretty soon, when the SEC and the Big Ten are formally, officially expanded, and their new additions are officially members of the conference, when that new TV deal hits, they're going to be. I mean, they're already making a crap ton more than the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big 12 are. Pretty soon, it's not even going to be comparable. Right. And down the line, you're going to have the Clemson making about half as much as any SEC program. And so even with the revised revenue model, I don't think it's going to really fix anything. It's just kind of putting a pretty poorly a pretty tiny Band-Aid on a big giant wound. So I don't really I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. I'm not very connected with all of that stuff, so I have no idea what it's going to look like. But there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, and especially the ACC, the future is kind of in question about where the league goes moving forward. Because I mean, not only are you stuck in this deal, you're in a conference. If you're Clemson and Florida State and programs like that, you're stuck in a conference that not only has put you at a disadvantage when it comes to being competitive in football, but the rest of your conference mates don't really care. Or at least half of them, which is more than enough. Programs like Georgia Tech. And sorry, Sea-Dog, I know he's doing the ACC show right now on Pigskin Peace Channel. Programs like UVA, Virginia.
There we go.
Virginia's a program
Yep.
that historically has not been very good, and probably it really should be a lot better than they have been, given the area they recruit and all that. Virginia Tech, a program that used to be they never won national titles, but they were always in the, especially under, Frank Beamer, they were always at the forefront of the national title and national conversation.
Right.
Not just in the ACC, but prior to that. And so I think getting those programs to reinvest in their program, nothing's going, unless they start doing that, nothing's going to change. Because right now the perception of the ACC, I think, is, well, it's never been super high to begin with. I think it's at an all-time low right now, just because of where the sport is headed, and a lot of your programs that you used to be able to rely on to invest in, raise the profile of the conference, they're not holding up their end of the bargain. So I've already talked ad nauseum about Miami. They're at least trying. They're actually putting money in the football program again. So we'll see how that turns out. But Virginia Tech, they're not recruiting as well as they used to. They don't have the facility. They're not really on the cutting edge of facilities anymore. And Georgia Tech, a program that used to be a really great, historically is a great program, hasn't found any sort of success since Paul Johnson has retired, and even the later years of Paul Johnson weren't good. So it's just the programs that you need to be great and have the ability to be great aren't being great, other than Clemson, and Florida State is getting back to that. So a lot of questions. I mean, I can only say it enough times. There's a lot of questions. I really have no idea where the sport is going, and especially in relation to the ACC, there's just so many things that are very, there's a lot of uncertainty about right now. So it'll be interesting. Things are going to look very different. Right?
It always is, right?
Yeah. Did we lose you for a second? I don't know what happened.
No, I'm good. I'm here.
I think it might have been me. My screen froze.
All right. So the Next Up podcast. Have you ever heard of the Next Up podcast, Jordan?
I mean, not until this week. No.
Yeah. So I know I sent you something with Cade in it, and he kind of went through his whole high school career into his college career, and then kind of all the way through, right? So what? I mean, at the end of the day, uh, Adam Brennan is the Next Up podcast host. He did a podcast with the what did they called themselves the Avengers last year, the defensive line,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So he did a podcast with Cade Klubnik, right? And Cade talked about his relationship with DJ and what he thought about DJ and kind of you know what transpired between him and DJ as far as relationship and as far as just being people that played on the same team basically. So he talked about his transition into college and it not being, you know, basically it not being anything other than, it's harder than high school, basically, right? So, um, what's your thoughts on Kate Klubnik and and what he'll be this coming season? Like you're like, so if somebody were to tell you like, hey, if you were to guess what Kate Klubnik's sophomore season would look like, what would it be?
Well, hopefully, the hope is.
Yeah, of
Um,
course. Yeah.
I think the hope and and this is it's not even I don't think it's a pipe dream. It's attainable. I think the hope should be that Cade is one of the top quarterbacks in the ACC this season. And I think for all the reasons that I I believe Garrett Riley is a great coordinator will
Yep.
be the reason that Cade is successful.
Absolutely.
Being better at being better in situational play calling, being able to scheme guys open,
Hmm.
making it simple and easy for the players to learn. The less thinking and more allowing your guys to be athletes.
Right. Yep.
Stuff like that. And I think that by proxy is going to allow Cade to um, really have his have the best year possible. And so I think the expectation. I don't think he's obviously Jordan Travis and Drake May are kind of considered the top two in the conference right now. But I think Cade has a chance to be
So
up there
yeah.
as well
So
if
let me
Garrett
let
Riley
me
is as advertised and the offense
yeah
gels
let
the way
me let me
we all
ask
hope.
you this. I know Garrett Riley's offense and all that kind of stuff and Drake May. So Drake May in the ACC conference. What will you classify Drake May as?
Like
Like
like his standing, like what is like
yeah,
his
like
thinking.
coming off of last season, uh, what would you classify Drake May as?
I mean, I think he's the best quarterback in the conference, probably.
Okay. Okay.
Or
Yeah.
maybe one A and Jordan Travis 1B, but I think those are the two. Those, and I'd hear arguments for why Jordan Travis should be one. I think Drake May has the better NFL upside, but as
Right.
far as just
So
within the conference,
let's
yeah.
talk about Drake May. Let's talk about Jordan Travis. Right. What are the big differences between those quarterbacks, in your opinion?
Well, just they're just very different and honestly, they're not that different. I think they're both, especially recently
Just
with
like
Jordan
if
Travis.
it okay, so let me ask you this. What which one would you take? If
Which
you
one
were
would I take?
if
Ooh,
you
that's
were
tough.
starting a team today, which one would you take?
Ooh. Um,
And why?
I'd lean Drake May, but I
Okay.
think just because of
Why?
I think Drake May has the more. I think he has the better arm, but
Okay. Yep.
the thing that impresses me about Jordan Travis is, especially this past season, I think just his progression over his career. I think he's had one of the more incredible developments over the course of his career that I've seen from a quarterback in a long time. He
Okay.
as someone that's he's a former transfer quarterback. He came off the bench at Louisville. I remember he came in for Malik Cunningham at the end of the Louisville game in man was that 2018? My
Mm-hmm.
at the
Mm-hmm.
I think I think it was 2018.
Yeah.
That 77-16 game.
Yes.
I remember Jordan Travis coming off the bench and playing. Or that was Malik Cunningham. Malik Cunningham was the one that came off the bench. Jordan Travis was on the bench as a quarterback, but I knew of him.
Okay.
But obviously when he transfers out of Louisville. Actually, I think
Yep.
this was actually, and I think I got the timeline wrong because I think Travis was 2019. So, but he transfers out of Louisville after 2019. I think that's the right timeline. And he comes to Florida State. He's a guy that's raw. He's well he's well liked for his athletic ability. Just a really strong athlete. Had a lot to learn as a passer, and that 2020 COVID season, he was kind of he was fighting uh, he was having to win his job from a less than 100% Mackenzie Milton, if you remember that name. Former UCF quarterback who had transferred in, had that horrific injury, was able to come back, and that Florida State team struggled. And he never really went into the season as the starter. I remember that Notre Dame game. He gets hurt. Mackenzie Milton comes in, almost leads a comeback, and allows them to win the game. And I was like, I was never that impressed. I knew he was really great with his legs. That was what made that offense work, and that was his best quality. And then he eventually went. When it's clear that Mackenzie Milton isn't the same guy he was. They bring back Jordan Travis and Florida State, especially in Mike Norvell's first year, they really had to rely on the QB run game and their run game in general. They really had no passing game to speak of. Didn't really have receivers either. And that kind of continued into 2021. But I think in 2021, Jordan Travis he showed some improvements and he showed some flashes of being great. But I really think this past season really kind of opened my eyes, and I think it speaks to a lot to Mike Norvell as a play caller, and also Kenny Dillingham, who's now at Oregon, not Oregon, Arizona State, and I think they did a really good job of developing him in that system. And so now I think this past season, I think Jordan Travis was one of the more impressive passers in all of college football. And for a guy that wasn't really that highly thought of as a passer, just to see his progression from from 2020 to now, it's been pretty incredible. And so I would I would lean Drake May because of the NFL upside. I think he can make all the throws that you need him to make. And he also, while he's not as athletic as Jordan Travis, he's a threat with his legs as well. I don't know, man. Jordan Travis is a really great player, and so those are some really. It's kind of hard to ask who I would take.
Right.
But man, Jordan Travis is. I think just his development as a passer has been really really awesome to see. And now, especially these past, this last year, now he has weapons to throw to. And with the additions they've made in the transfer portal, they're going to be a really potent offense this year. Mike Norvell is a really good play caller. Alex Atkins as well. That offensive line is improving. So I know that was a really long-winded answer, but kind of hard to. I didn't want to just kind of ignore Jordan Travis, and I'll take Drake May. But that's those should be the top two, and you consider the top two in the conference going into this season.
Absolutely.
And hopefully Cade is up there by the end.
Look, I'm trying to say Cade will be up there by the end of the season.
All right, I like it. All right, Cade will be up there. I'll join you on that train. We're going to use
100% will be up there. Will Shipley will be up there. It's crazy the amount of coordinator positions that have changed in the ACC. So let me ask you this, Jordan. What are your thoughts on the new pod system that the ACC has? Do you like it or like?
Well, they won't like you calling it pods, but
well,
isn't
that what it is though?
Because pods are when everybody within the pod plays each other. These are just like in this situation, like for the ACC, it would be 4 teams. If they were to expand 4 teams to a pod or whatever,
yes,
and everybody plays each other. In this situation, all this is just protected rivalry. So each team has 3 teams they play every year, but the teams that you play every year don't necessarily play each other. So that's kind of the difference. But and that's kind of how, and that's how the SEC is going to do it too. We'll see how that plays out.
Right,
it'll be different because they have 16 instead of 14. It's a 3-5. It'll be a 3-6-6 instead of a
So the ACC has a 3-5-5, right?
Yeah.
So obviously we're going to come out with our 3-5-5 this year, right? Like
yes.
This is the first year for the ACC's 3-5-5. Do you have any problem with the current 3-5-5? With the current scheduled games? Like, would you change any of the steady stay games, right? Like
no. For Clemson? No.
Okay.
I think those
for any other team. Would you change any games for any other team? I like Clemson games as well, but any other team, would you change those?
I don't know. It's kind of hard because there's not really a perfect way to do it because I mean, I think for some teams it was really self-explanatory. For Clemson, I thought it was easy. Florida State, Florida State, you got to play Florida State every year. Georgia Tech, obviously, you have the history there, rivalry. And NC State, another important, another rivalry. I think those were the 3 obvious choices. Sorry, Boston College. I know we have a rivalry trophy, but I don't really care about that game nearly as much.
Because at the end of the day, yeah.
But and I don't know everybody's permanent opponents off the top of my head. I'd have to pull it up, but I know there were some weird ones. I know Wake kind of got a. I know Wake kind of got a weird draw. They don't get to play the all the triangle schools like they used to.
Yep.
Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can pull up an image so I can. Nope. Okay, that sucks.
What do you want? I'll pull it up.
I'm just looking for a visual aid so I can see what everybody's permanent opponents are. Okay, CBS. It's not. It's just text, but it works. So Boston College, Miami, Pitt, Syracuse. I mean that kind of makes that makes sense. I guess. I mean those are they basically just stuck the old Big East teams together. Well, for Boston College at least, as just their old Big East rivals. We already talked about Clemson. I think theirs made sense. Duke's, North Carolina, NC State, Wake Forest. They get to play all their in-state rivals. So, I mean, that's about as good as it gets. Florida State, Clemson, and Miami makes sense. Syracuse is just kind of whatever. You had to find a third game. Florida State doesn't really have another, conference rival, and Syracuse, needed another opponent as well. Georgia Tech, Clemson makes sense. Louisville and Wake Forest. Whatever. That's just kind of, and that's the case with a few of these teams. It's just kind of whatever. Louisville, Georgia Tech, Miami, and Virginia.
Right.
Louisville doesn't really have any natural rivals within the conference, so you just kind of stick them where they can.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Miami is Boston College, Florida State, and Louisville. BC and Florida State makes sense. That'd be, but Louisville's just kind of, there. And so you just go down the list. So there's a lot of teams that don't, they don't really make sense. Some do. NC State's is Clemson, Duke, or North Carolina. Makes sense. All rivalries. Pitt's, Boston College, Syracuse, and Virginia Tech. Makes sense. I mean, those are all Northeast, all of that. And so I think the ACC did about as good of a job as they could have, I guess. Maybe you could argue they're especially in some of the teams that kind of have whatever games as their permanent, but like they don't really have a lot of history. Maybe you could fill and move around a couple of teams here and there, but other than that, I think it for the most part makes sense. And you preserve the rivalries, I think that within the conference that really needed to be preserved. And so I think that's ultimately the goal with this model. So
absolutely. All right. Let's see. Hold on. John Sarian said, John D'Angelo said, did you watch Miami's offense last year? No, clearly he did not. Gaddis was trying to run 128-pound running backs into the teeth. Miami's offense is not Michigan. Okay. Look, Jordan, is Gaddis like a good thing that Miami lost, or what is the Miami census on Josh Gaddis?
Well, I know my Miami fans are pretty much all of them are happy he's gone. I mean, the Miami offense was really bad this year, and for a number of reasons. They had injuries. They really don't have a lot of. They don't really have a lot of difference makers at wide receiver. But I wasn't a huge Josh Gaddis fan, and really he only has 1 year under his belt where his offense was really good, and that was the year that Jim Harbaugh, at least at Michigan, That was the year that Jim Harbaugh seemed to have the most say in how the offense was going to be run after 2 years of pretty rough offense. So
right.
I
So
think clearly, I mean, Mario felt there was a change was needed to make it, because it wasn't like Gaddis left by himself. It was Mario
right.
fired him. So
Absolutely.
yeah, this season was a disaster in a lot of ways. They weren't able to score on a lot of teams. I don't think they averaged I don't even think they averaged over 20 points a game in conference play. So
Right.
and with losses to Duke and Middle Tennessee State, and just you seeing the regression that Tyler Van Dyke had in the new system. I mean, I think it was a good decision.
All right. Bobo is okay, but not nearly as good as Munkin. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Mike Bobo's a fine offensive coordinator, but I don't think he's as good as I definitely don't think he's as good as Todd Monken.
I don't know anything about Munkin. So, Big 12 expansion too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
UCF and
yeah, they're expanding. UCF is going to be Big 12. Yep.
Yeah.
They will. Yep. For sure. What that's going to look like for the ACC, we'll see. But
yeah, UCF, Cincinnati,
yeah,
BYU.
Phillips is getting desperate to keep Clemson and FSU from bolting. Look, I don't think Clemson and look. At the end of the day, does Clemson and FSU have a choice?
Not right now, no. I mean,
honestly, look. At the end of the day, I mean, there's no choice. Like, the ACC has a terrible TV deal, but at the end of the day, there's nothing that the ACC schools can do in order to change their circumstances with the ACC. As bad as the TV deal is, it is what it is. I mean, there's nothing Clemson school like Clemson or the other ACC schools can do. What are they going to do? What is their leverage?
Well, they have none right now.
Exactly.
The only thing they can do, and this is what Maryland did when they left the ACC, is
right.
Without paying the massive buyout, which I don't think any school would be willing to pay from this far out from the end. It would be something ridiculous.
It doesn't even matter because they can't pay it. It's not realistic at this
point. Right. And I'm saying the only other option is to forfeit that TV money for the remainder of the contract. And so instead of actually paying out, you just don't get you have to forfeit all your TV money that you make for the
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay.
That's what Maryland did that, which is what made the ACC panic and sign this long-term TV deal to begin with.
So
so
that's interesting. What would that look like for Clemson? And
that'd be a terrible idea for Clemson. That'd be awful. Maybe if we were closer to the deal, that would be a more viable option. The end of the deal, that would be. But forfeiting 13 years of TV money is program suicide.
Yeah.
So
no, yeah. I get it. Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, it's you're in a tough spot right now, and so I really don't know of any answers. I know that there are people more qualified than me that are trying to find answers, but
yeah, for sure.
I don't know if they are.
Look, I've heard the spectrum, right, of guess what? These schools can afford lawyers and they can figure out ways out of this contract, and it's only a matter of time until they figure out a way out of the contract. But at the end of the day, in my mind, what are you going to do if you can't figure out a way out of the contract? Then I don't know. It is what it is. It's interesting. Look. It's crazy to think that the ACC is in this current media deal and they can't get out of the contract. I know there's a lot of smart lawyers out there. There's a lot of smart people out there that can, figure their way out of certain things. But at the end of the day, I don't know. You have to be able to maneuver things in a way that still keeps continuity within the program. So we'll see what happens. The ACC TV deal is probably the worst that has ever been signed in Clemson in college football.
It's got to be up there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, especially considering the timing.
Right, like I mean, you have all these other conferences, the Big Ten, the SEC, all these other conferences that are absolutely dwarfing the ACC when it comes to TV deals, when it comes to revenue, and all these other things. And I feel Clemson is all bought in on college football. They're all bought in on that sort of thing. But at the end of the day, if you don't have the TV deals to back it up, what are you going to do, man? Like, at the end of the day, what do you do? There's nothing you can do, right?
No.
I don't know. I don't know, Jordan. It's very frustrating to watch. It's very frustrating to deal with. But I think we should give a shout out to the comment section here.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Shout out to the comment section. Who we got in here? I'm going to scroll all the way to the top. I'm going to call out everybody in here. All the way to the top. All right, who do we got? We got John Sarian in here. We got Show Out Gaming. We got Julie. Let's see. Steel Gamble in here. John. We got Todd Gwynn. Who else did we got? Let's see. Scrolling down. Big Mix in here. Angel Moss is in here. Keep scrolling down. Big Mick again. Todd Gwynn. John Sarian. Will D. There we go. That's our resident Notre Dame fan. There we go.
Shout out to Will. Good people.
Shout out to Will.
Jeremiah, it's good to see you.
Yeah, Jeremiah's Payne. Will D. John Sarian. Show Out Gaming. Jamarius Payne again. Joey Foster, West Virginia fan. Look at
Oh,
that.
yeah. So I saw Joey in here. Good to see you.
Joey Foster.
Yeah,
West Virginia.
Joey does a lot for Mark and the college football, the voice of college football community. Does a lot of promotion. Also on the Golden Blue Dude channel. He's one half of that.
There we go.
So Joey does a lot of good stuff. Make sure you guys.
WB2DX in the house, says Tiggs in the house. Good stuff, man. Good stuff. Awesome. Let me put this banner up here. Hold on one second. There we go. Yep.
So we kind of we've kind of run down a lot of our what we wanted to talk about. Do you want to take some questions?
Yeah. So we talked about basically what we wanted to talk about tonight. Both myself and Jordan Bowman. Kind of what we want to talk about tonight. So if you guys want to get your questions in the chat tonight and let us know, ask us questions. If you want to direct the conversation in any sort of way, we'll hold on for a couple more minutes before we cut out of here. So let us know what you want to talk about. Did you hear? So I know I sent you the interview for
K Klubnik?
K Klubnik, right? And his welcome to college moment. Do you remember what he said for his welcome to college?
I think so. Yeah, it was. I think he said it was in spring ball.
Yeah, spring ball, absolutely.
Practicing some zone reads and
zone reads. Who was it? Who was it?
The defensive end he was reading was Miles Murphy. And
there you go. There you go.
So if you guys haven't watched the interview, it's a really good listen.
Yeah, absolutely. So the Next Up podcast for K Klubnik, he did an interview with the Next Up podcast. He also did an interview earlier in the season with the Avengers, if you will, which is all of our defensive linemen. But if you want to go check out K Klubnik podcast, he talked about DJ. He talked about the new offensive coordinator. He talked about Brandon Streeter and the relationship that he had with him, and all that sort of stuff, man. So K Klubnik seems like a genuine dude, just like Will Shipley. Seems like a genuine dude, and it seems like Clemson is always recruiting the right type of people, right?
Oh yeah. It's really good listen, and he kind of gives a lot of insight into his recruitment, kind of what the process was. What the process was when the offensive coordinator change happened. When Dabo kind of called him in, before he made the decision and told him he was thinking about it. So it's a really good listen, and you kind of get to get to learn a little bit more about Cade and kind of his process coming to Clemson, his recruitment, all of that. So it's really nice.
WB2DX says, if Clemson left the ACC, where would they end up?
I mean, I would assume the SEC, right? I mean, I think that's best cultural fit.
That's kind of the natural fit for Clemson, right?
Yeah,
is the SEC, right? I don't think the Big Ten, would the Big Ten be a fit for Clemson? I don't think so.
Not really. I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think the SEC would be a natural fit for Clemson. So if the ACC absolutely imploded as a conference, which I wouldn't think an entire conference would implode, right, Jordan? But at the end of the day, at the end of the day, like what is the ACC doing? Like, what are they? What's the ACC's goal as a conference, right? So
Well, right now they're just trying to stay afloat. I mean, I don't think the ACC has accepted their fate by any
yeah,
means. But they're trying
yeah.
to
Well, they may
stay competitive in some way. At least
they
the
may they
leadership.
may need to accept their fate because I don't know if the ACC has a leg to stand on anymore. But at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I think Clemson needs to move on from the ACC. If Clemson had a chance to move on from the ACC, I would 100% vote for that to happen. But again, college football is a fickle thing. We don't know anything that's going to happen. And at the end of the day, there's really no certainty in college football. So
Right. Yeah. It's everything is really fluid. We don't really know. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, we don't know. Could you see the Tigers in the Pac-12? No, absolutely.
And I don't think it would make sense for Clemson.
Why would Clemson be in the Pac-12? I don't think Clemson makes any sense outside of the SEC. I mean, do you?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't see any other. And you're hitching. I mean, what you're hitching your wagon from one conference that's not making much money to another conference that's not making much money. I don't see why you would do that. I think that would be the best. That'd be the only option. I think is the SEC. And I mean, if the Big Ten wanted you, I think you take it. But other than that, I don't.
I don't even think then. Like, I mean, I just
no. I think you would. Given the money and unless you have reason to believe that the SEC also wants you. If it came down to choosing, then yeah, you take the SEC. But if the Big Ten is like, oh, we want to expand into South Carolina.
Okay. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Okay.
You take that. I mean, the Big Ten is going to be they're going to be making comparable money. Their conference is going to be making comparable money, and it would allow Clemson to stay competitive.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Although it would suck from a tradition and everything else standpoint. Probably sacrifice a lot of rivalries.
A lot of rivalries. I mean, it would be, it would be brutal. Would you want Clemson to play Colorado in late November? I guess. I mean, does Colorado pose a threat to Clemson in late November? I mean,
well, I mean, with Deion Sanders being there, I mean, I guess that'd be interesting for sure. And
I get Deion Sanders. I get no, they don't pose a threat to
oh, you know what? I think we misread. He's not asking us if we would want Clemson to play Colorado in late November. I think he's saying that would be a consequence of Clemson joining the Pac-12.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah. That makes sense.
I was like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
I was about to be like, wait. I mean, I get they got Deion Sanders, but at the end of the day, I mean, that's not really.
We got you.
He's probably talking about the weather in November.
I mean, that's you don't. I mean, the weather isn't far from the only reason why you wouldn't go to the Pac-12. But yeah, that's just
right. Yeah, there's a lot of other reasons, but yeah, I don't know. Get some other comments in here, guys.
I think we've had some. I think we had other questions. If you scroll farther up.
Oh, okay. I got you. There you go. Read that one.
With the current grant of rights contract, can the ACC expand to 16? I mean, they can. They could technically, but it's good. It's really hard. I mean, there's not really. It would have to be an expansion that makes sense, because you're already not making a ton of money, and if you bring in 2 extra teams, that's obviously less money. I mean, less money going to all the teams, and it's not really adding value to the conference. If you're just adding willy-nilly, unless you were able to bring in somebody like a program like Notre Dame, which I don't think is happening. So I think if you were able to add Notre Dame to the conference, I think that would be a game changer. But I don't think that's happening. I don't think that's happening.
Hopefully, Clemson goes 11-1 with a loss in the last season game. Who are you?
That's Todd. That's our resident Gamecock fan. You don't remember?
Oh.
Yeah. No. Honestly, this is pretty nice of Todd, because most some South Carolina fans are like, I hope Clemson loses every game. I don't.
Look here, Todd. I hope we go. If I had to choose between 11-1 and 1-11, I would choose 1-11 and beat South Carolina. That's just me.
I don't know if I would go that far.
Okay. Maybe not. But yeah, I wouldn't go that far either. But I mean, it is what it is.
I'd definitely take 11, and I mean, it would suck for sure. But
would it though? Like, I mean, losing to South Carolina at the end of the season.
Well, listen, because think about it this way: if you go 1-11, I mean, what benefit do you get out of beating South Carolina if you're 1-11? Like,
all right.
Obviously, the bragging rights matter.
Okay.
You just went 1-11.
Sell it to me. Sell it to me now. Okay, go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, if you considering Clemson's place in college football right now, they've been one of the best programs of the last decade. If you were to go 1-11, even if that win is against South Carolina,
it's a
done
disaster.
Something.
It's a disaster.
You've destroyed everything that you've been trying to build. Okay. But I know this is an extreme example, and obviously that Clemson's not going 1-11. But I don't know if I would rather go. I hate losing to South Carolina as much as anybody, but I don't know if I would take 1-11 just to beat them. I would take 11-1 and deal with the 1 year, especially if it's a 1 year thing, and deal with the heartbreak of one loss to the Gamecocks.
Right. Yeah. No. That's you know what? You're probably right. WB.
Even though we lost to them this past season, I would still rather be. I'd still rather be where Clemson is than where South Carolina is.
Let's not talk about
as
the
a
loss
program
this past season. Let's not talk about it. 1-11. Dabo is gone. No, he's not. No.
He might. I don't know. I don't know how you defend that unless something like catastrophic happens.
Are you kidding me? The Tigers win it all in 2023, national champs.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Got a lot of work to do.
15-0. No benefit. People will start calling for Danny Ford to come back.
Danny Ford. Danny Ford's like in his. How old is he now? He's like. He's got to be like 70.
Yeah, he's like 80, dude. Right, he's like 80, dude. I mean, It's no. Nobody's calling for Danny Ford to come back. Okay.
He lives in I think he lives in Central. I think he lives around here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's good.
I think he did at one point. I know he lived in South Carolina at some point.
Yeah. That's, hey, it is what it is. All right. Let's see. What do we have here? Central is Clemson East. That's disrespectful.
Yeah, pretty much. Just a drive down 93.
Oh, all right. All right. Let's see. You guys got a couple more minutes to get your comments in, and then me and Jordan are going to cut out of here for the night. We'll be back next week at 7 p.m. on Thursday. Outside of that, you guys got a couple minutes to get your comments in.
Yeah, it hurts worse losing at Death Valley and being knocked out of the playoffs. Probably Gamecocks' best win against Clemson. I'm trying to think. I guess probably. Yeah, probably.
So Jordan, let me ask you this.
Maybe a couple of the Spurrier wins in 11, 12, and 13 are up there.
Do you think there's any merit in the fact that all the other offensive coaches have stayed the same outside of Garrett Riley?
I think it's, for the most part, I think it's a good thing. But
okay, yeah. Okay,
but I think one of the interesting things is with the recent contract, contract changes and raises. Only two assistant coaches got raises. That was Nick Eason and Mike Reed. So there does seem to be a notion, especially with the in light of the firing of Streeter, that that the Clemson coaching staff and there are multiple assistants that are kind of in a prove it year. So it's clear that Dabo has had conversations with the staff and some pretty tough conversations with the staff, and that things are he's not afraid to make a change if he has to. So. But no, I think for the most part it's good. I think Clemson has some talented young coaches, and I think it's good to just to have that familiarity and it's easier to work in one guy in Garrett Riley than multiple guys that aren't familiar with your program, your culture, and the kids that you have in the program. So, but it'll be a learning process, and I think Garrett Riley is already. If you watch Cade's interview, he's even said as much, that Garrett Riley was like, "Well, we're still trying to figure everything out. I'm gonna have, and he's like, you're gonna have to be patient with me because, I've never worked with these guys before, and it'll, it's you're trying to fix the offense. So, but we'll see how it goes. I'm excited.
Absolutely, I'm excited too. Yeah. Shout out to the Clemson program as a whole, and just just guys as a whole on the Clemson program, right? So we talked about some stuff in the ACC, but I really want to end on just guys in the Clemson program, mainly Will Shipley and his idea to really just change the narrative around NIL deals. His idea is to really change the narrative around it. Really, just deal in the idea that Clemson players aren't out in for selfish reasons. They're out to serve the community and really do those kind of things. So shout out to him. I hope he fulfills all his dreams when it comes to that sort of thing, because that's a hard thing, man. At the end of the day, that's not easy to do. It's not easy to negotiate those deals. So shout out to Will Shipley in his endeavors to do that. And yeah, man. Let's see what's Big Mick saying. Don't expect to see too much in the spring game.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same.
Same thing. I don't think we'll see a lot in the spring game either. I'm expecting to go to the spring game myself. I'm definitely gonna be in Death Valley for the spring game. I'm definitely gonna be there to see what's going on. Shout out to the softball team.
Yep.
My daughter's a softball player. She wants to play for Clemson one day, and the softball team is 6-0. Did you know the softball team was 6-0, Jordan?
I did know.
They are now up to 7th in the country. They started at 10th in the country. They're now up to 7th in the country. They got their Big Ten Challenge this weekend. So they got a game on Friday. They got 2 games on Saturday, and they got a game on Sunday. So they play Northwestern and Ohio State this coming weekend. Hopefully they get out of it with being what will they be then? 10-0 if they get out of this weekend unscathed. So shout out to the softball team. Hey, have you seen the lacrosse team lately? They're 2-0, man.
The women's lacrosse team. Yeah, they look really good. They scored like I think they scored like almost like 40 goals in 2 games.
Yeah, bro, they out here bowling, bro. Like, what are they doing? Like, where'd they get these lacrosse players, man?
Look,
I don't know.
I don't know what it is, but Clemson when they start a new women's program, I'm
trying to tell you, man. Hey, these women programs. These women programs that Clemson starts, I don't know what happens, but
they're cooking.
They become the standard. So softball, now lacrosse. I mean, I don't know what to do other than, hey, this is a product of Clemson football, and that's amazing, right? Like, isn't it amazing that Clemson football has produced all these other sports when it comes to the Clemson experience, right? So, look,
hey, when you win in football, it opens up a lot of opportunities for you in other athletic avenues. So in Clemson, success has definitely brought in a ton of money into the athletic department, and it's allowed them to start these programs. And women's obviously softball is off to a tremendous start. Just like that, they're really good. And hosted a regional last year. And
pretty
incredible for your second or third year in existence.
Their third year. This is their 4th year in existence, and they're already 7th in the country. Yeah, early on in the season, right? So absolutely amazing for
and already better than your in-state rivals.
Already better than the trailer park that is Columbia, South Carolina,
Yeah.
which is pretty amazing. Lacrosse is off to a running start. They have absolutely dominated their past two games, which is their first two inaugural games as Clemson lacrosse for females. So, I mean, it's just amazing, dude. Like, I absolutely love the fact that Clemson football has evolved into this juggernaut and has produced all these other sports, right? Like, I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's amazing, man. Like that they
Pretty
produced
cool.
all these other sports. At the end of the day, Graham Neff, our new athletic director, realizes the fact that being 100% bought in on Clemson football and all that sort of stuff produces all this other stuff for the academic program. And then at the end of the day, the not only Clemson sports and women's sports in Clemson, but also, just academic buildings and all this other stuff, right? It just brings money to Clemson as a whole, which is pretty amazing.
That they raise tuition every year, but that's a whole different story.
Well, that too, but that's your problem. Jordan.
Yeah, well,
that's not my problem.
yeah, well,
No, I'm just kidding. I understand.
No, but it's really cool, and the baseball team gets going tomorrow as well. Baseball season's here. New coach Eric Backes, a lot of energy around the program. Really excited to see how they look, and I think they played Binghamton.
You know what? Oh, baseball plays tomorrow, huh?
Yeah, opening days tomorrow.
Dang.
So we're hitting the ground running on the spring sports, and also, and the basketball team has been on a skid lately, but they had a really nice outing last night.
There you go.
Beat Florida State by 40 points.
Dang.
I know Florida State's not good, but that is their biggest ACC win in program history. So they had a really, really good night. 94-54. So Clemson's still kind of on the bubble right now. As far it didn't put them firmly into the field, but if they if they get a few of these remaining games, I think they have a good shot of making the tournament. So
okay,
we'll see how it goes.
You got an update on Clemson basketball right now for us?
Well, that was the update, but yeah. Other than that, I don't have anything else to say. They play they play at Louisville next.
There we go. At Louisville this weekend.
The worst team in the conference. Yes. So
okay. Well, they should win that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll see. Okay. So before we go tonight, do you got any updates on Clemson recruiting 2024?
Not any big news. Clemson did actually put out a second running back offer by the name of Michael Welch. Sorry, from Milledgeville, Georgia. 5'7". He's listed at 5'7". Honestly, he looks slightly smaller than that. But he's well built. Not a very tall guy, but I like his type. He's a consensus 4-star in the composite. Reminds me a lot, and not just because of the stature, but I think because of his elusiveness. He kind of reminds me of Deuce Vaughn from Kansas State. He looks. I really like his tape. I think it's a solid offer. I'll be interested to see how much Clemson pursues it, because they already have the offer out to David Umizumi, and I think I butchered his last name, but as we get closer and as we get farther and farther along, and that decision timeline is not really clear right now, I think it's best for Clemson to expand the board right now. So I think this is a solid offer. I think he's got really great speed and elusiveness. And he's a tough guy to bring down for his size. He's just a smaller back, but he's got nice size. And so it'll be interesting to see how much Clemson pushes for him, because I really do like David as well, but he's got family circumstances that are playing a huge role in his decision. He said very close. He's very close with his family. And kind of proximity to home is kind of a big deal, and that's kind of why Georgia Tech is also a major player in that recruitment. So as you get further and further along, you don't want him to end up picking Georgia Tech, and then you're left with. I mean, he was your only running back offer before yesterday. So I like this offer, and we'll see where it goes. But that's kind of it. There's still no updates on other, not really any new news on the quarterback front, other than just they had the one offer out to Jaden Davis, and there's some other guys that they've been in contact with that we've already talked about, but there's not a whole lot of clarity there right now. We'll see. So we'll see what direction Clemson decides to go there.
Yeah, absolutely. So the big question for Clemson in 2024 is the quarterback and the running back position. So we'll see where Clemson goes, especially in the quarterback position now that they lost White. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, right?
Yep.
But you guys got about 60 seconds for me and Jordan to answer your questions, to respond to you, and after that, we're kind of gonna get out of here, man. We've been on here for 2 hours already. I know it doesn't feel like it, but
no.
Welch and the kid is fast. His tape is nice.
I agree. Yeah. It's a good player.
David wants to bring his mom to campus.
Yeah.
That will be in March.
Yep. March. Clemson is holding another junior day on March 11th. We're in a dead period right now, so no visits right now. But yeah, David wants to bring. Like I said, he's really close with his family. They haven't been to Clemson yet, so he wants them to kind of check it out and see what they think before any decision is made. There's no public timeline, so I can't tell you if he's going to make a decision right after or not. But he still wants to get. He still wants to get that visit in with his parents, because he's been on his visits by himself up to this point.
All right. Any news on Mike Matthews, KJ Bolden, or Jonathan Paler?
No news on Matthews and Bolden. Really, I know. Well, Bolden, I think he set an official visit for Ohio State. But I think Clemson is firmly in the mix. We'll see, how that he doesn't have his whole visit schedule shaped out. So we'll see how that goes. Jonathan Paler is an interesting one. I think there's a lot of momentum for South Carolina right now, but I don't think that's a recruitment that's close to being over yet. I think I take that back. I think a decision is not far away, but I don't think Clemson is out of it yet. But I do think there's a lot of momentum on the South Carolina side right now. But yeah, and Mike Matthews, yeah, I think that's a recruitment that's going to go a significant while longer. I don't think he's not in a rush to get out and take visits right now. So. That's right, Edward. Yeah, focusing on basketball.
Welch has Clemson in his top 5.
Yes, he released the top 5. I haven't seen it.
I don't know. We are on pace to land.
Heaven Schuler Brown. Yeah, a talented defensive lineman. Guy that one of Clemson's first offers in the entire class. They've been on him a long time. I think, Clemson's done about as good of a job as he can in his recruitment. I think he's gonna. I think you're in a really good position there.
All right, guys. I think that'll do us for tonight. We've been on here for 2 hours and 13 minutes. We appreciate you guys coming in tonight. We appreciate you guys getting into the live chat section. But without further ado, I am Tiger Paul Craven. He is Jordan Bowman. Jordan, sign him off for the night.
Once again, guys, thank you for tuning in. We will see you next week. Same time as always, Thursdays, 7 p.m. And make sure you guys hit that like button, subscribe, share these live streams, share this show with your friends as well, so we can kind of continue to grow the channel. And we will talk to you guys next week.
Yep. Until next time, I am Tiger Paul Craven. He is Jordan Bowman, and we will see you in the next live video next Thursday, 7 p.m.